Eleanor stood at the entrance of the Grand Azure Hotel, her heart pounding as she watched her sister physically block the doorway. Inside, she could hear her father's distinctive laugh echoing through the lobby, a lobby she had personally designed, in a hotel she personally owned. Yet here she was, being treated like some door-to-door salesperson trying to crash an exclusive party. "There's no way you're getting in here," Vanessa announced, adjusting what Eleanor immediately recognized as a designer knockoff. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd seen the original sketches from the actual designer just days ago. "This is the Grand Azure, Ellie. Do you have any idea how expensive this place is? The tasting menu alone probably costs more than your monthly salary." If only Vanessa knew that Eleanor had personally worked with their Michelin-starred chef to create that exact menu. "He's my father too," Eleanor said calmly. However, her hand instinctively went to her clutch, where an envelope contained something special, the deed to an exclusive Tuscan villa, one of her properties worth millions. Now, let me give you some context here. Eleanor is 38, a self-made hospitality entrepreneur, and this is the story of how she reclaimed her seat at a table she literally built with her own 2 hands. "Mom and Dad were very clear about this," Vanessa continued, checking her reflection in the glass doors with the kind of self-satisfaction that makes your skin crawl. "They only want successful people at this party. People who won't embarrass the family name." The audacity of that statement hit Eleanor like a punch to the gut. Just 24 hours earlier, she'd signed paperwork for a $100 million expansion of her hotel chain, and now she was supposedly too embarrassing to walk through the front door of her own property. Here's where it gets interesting. A decade ago, Eleanor made a choice that her family never forgave. She left their small accounting firm to pursue her passion for hospitality management. Her father's reaction? Absolutely brutal. "No daughter of mine is going to waste her life being a glorified waitress," he'd said, the words still stinging years later. So Eleanor did something clever. She let them believe whatever they wanted. Let them think she was struggling, barely getting by in restaurant management. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she was building an empire. Azure Hospitality Group became one of the most prestigious luxury hotel chains in the entire country. 35 five-star properties across 3 continents. The glorified waitress had become a hospitality mogul. "Eleanor?" Her mother's voice cut through the tension like a knife as she appeared behind Vanessa. "What on earth are you doing here? We talked about this." Actually, they hadn't talked about anything. Eleanor had received a text message that morning. "Don't come to Dad's birthday. It's at the Grand Azure. You can't afford it. Don't embarrass us." Short, cold, dismissive. That was her family in a nutshell. "I brought Dad a gift," Eleanor said simply, holding up the small envelope. Vanessa actually laughed out loud. "What is it? A gift card to some chain restaurant? Or did you scrape together enough tip money to buy something from the discount store?" Eleanor's mother looked at her daughter's simple clutch bag with barely concealed disdain. What she didn't know? That handmade Italian leather piece cost more than Vanessa's car payment. "I'm sure your sister's gift is more appropriate," her mother said with a sniff. After all, Vanessa just made junior partner at her firm. Oh, Eleanor knew all about that. She also knew that Vanessa's firm was desperately trying to lease office space in one of Eleanor's buildings. Space they needed but couldn't quite afford. The reports had crossed her desk just yesterday. "Vanessa is doing so incredibly well," her mother continued, warming to her favorite subject. New house in the suburbs. Luxury vehicle, engaged to a man with such promising career prospects. She paused, looking Eleanor up and down like she was evaluating a disappointing purchase. "And you? Well, at least you're trying, I suppose. Eleanor thought about her penthouse overlooking Central Park, her collection of rare sports cars, the private jet she'd flown in on that very morning. Yes, Mom, she said. At least I'm trying. Speaking of trying, Vanessa smirked. That dress. Couldn't you have made more of an effort? This is the Grand Azure, not some roadside diner. Eleanor ran her hand over the sophisticated black silk, custom-made by one of Paris's most exclusive designers. The same designer who'd actually refused to work with Vanessa the previous month, something Eleanor's stylist had mentioned during her last fitting. It's what I could manage, Eleanor said mildly. Well, you absolutely cannot come inside, Vanessa declared with finality. We've reserved the entire VIP floor. It's exclusively for family and distinguished guests. The VIP floor. Eleanor's VIP floor. The one she'd spent months redesigning last year, personally selecting every piece of artwork, every crystal chandelier, every detail. And these distinguished guests are? Eleanor asked, genuinely curious about who'd made the cut. Oh, you wouldn't know them? Her mother said dismissively. The Andersons. They own that successful law firm. The Blackwoods. Old money. Very established. And Mr. Harrison from the bank. All extremely important people. Eleanor had to fight back a smile. Thomas Anderson leased 3 of her properties. The Blackwoods had recently been begging for membership at her most exclusive resort. And Mr. Harrison? His bank was currently seeking a major loan from her investment group. Right, Eleanor said. Very important people. Exactly. Vanessa looked pleased that Eleanor finally understood her place in the pecking order. So you can see why you can't be here. What would people think if they discovered Dad's unsuccessful daughter was serving their cocktails? Vanessa, their mother chided softly, though her eyes showed complete approval. Be nice. Eleanor made her choices. If she'd stayed with the family firm like you did, things would be different. Ah, yes. The family firm. The one that occupied a modest office in one of Eleanor's buildings, always struggling to make rent. Her property manager sent monthly reports on all tenants, including her family's barely surviving business. Suddenly, Gavin, Vanessa's fiancé, appeared, straightening his tie. What's the holdup? Everyone's waiting for. He spotted Eleanor, and his face fell. Eleanor, didn't expect you here. Clearly, Eleanor replied. Gavin just got promoted to vice president at his bank, her mother announced proudly. Junior vice president, Eleanor corrected automatically, knowing his exact position because his bank handled some of her smaller accounts. Her financial team kept detailed reports on all banking partners. It's more impressive than whatever you're doing, Vanessa snapped. What is it now? Assistant manager at some chain restaurant? Eleanor thought about the board meeting she'd left that morning, where they'd discussed acquiring Gavin's bank. The paperwork was probably still sitting on her desk. Upstairs, in her private office, in her hotel. Something like that, she said. This is absolutely ridiculous, her mother declared. Eleanor, just leave. You're creating a scene. I'll tell your father you couldn't make it. Couldn't afford it, you mean? Vanessa added with another laugh. Eleanor looked past them through the grand entrance, at the marble floors she'd selected, the crystal chandeliers she'd commissioned, the artwork she'd personally curated. Every single inch was hers. For just a moment, she considered walking away, letting them have their party. Letting them continue believing whatever fairy tale made them feel superior. But then she remembered something her first mentor had told her years ago. Success means nothing if you can't stand up for yourself. Eleanor straightened her shoulders, feeling the weight of everything she'd built without their support or approval. The tingling in her fingers stopped. Calm clarity washed over her. "Actually," she said quietly, "I think I'll stay." Before her mother could respond, the heavy glass doors swung open. Owen, her head of security, stepped out. He'd been with her since she'd bought her first struggling property 7 years ago, helping transform it into the flagship of the entire Azure chain. "Is everything all right here, Miss CEO?" His voice carried clearly across the entrance. "Your usual table is ready, and Chef Michelle is holding the tasting menu for your approval." The silence that followed was absolutely deafening. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Her mother gripped the brass door handle for support, her knuckles turning white. "Owen?" Eleanor smiled warmly. "Perfect timing. My family was just explaining how I couldn't possibly afford to dine here." "Ma'am?" Owen looked genuinely confused. "But you own the entire hotel chain." "Yes," Eleanor said, "I do." She turned to her stunned family. "Shall we go inside? I believe you've reserved the VIP floor." My VIP floor, to be precise. Gavin found his voice first. This is some kind of joke. You're just a restaurant manager." "Actually," Owen interjected professionally, "Miss Eleanor is the founder and CEO of Azure Hospitality Group. She owns all 35 Grand Azure hotels worldwide, along with our resort properties and restaurant chains." Vanessa's designer clutch slipped from her fingers, clattering dramatically on the marble steps. "But that's impossible. The Grand Azure is worth billions." Eleanor finished for her. "Which makes your comment about me not affording the tasting menu rather amusing, wouldn't you say?" Eleanor stepped past them into her lobby, where staff immediately straightened to attention. "Good evening, Miss Eleanor," her front desk manager called out. "The executive suite is prepared for your father's birthday celebration." "Thank you, Rachel." Eleanor turned back to her family, still frozen in shock. "Coming?" They followed in complete silence, looking around the hotel as if seeing it for the first time. Every single staff member they passed greeted Eleanor by name, each showing the genuine respect she'd earned through years of hands-on leadership and fair treatment. "But your dress," her mother finally managed, staring at Eleanor's simple black outfit with completely new eyes. "Custom made in Paris. Around $30,000, I believe. I have a terrible habit of not checking price tags anymore." Eleanor led them to the private elevator, the one requiring a special key she pulled from her clutch. Unlike Vanessa's dress, which I believe is a knockoff, the real Valentino collection hasn't been released to the public yet. I know because I attended the private showing last month in Milan. The elevator doors opened directly into the VIP lounge, where the birthday celebration was in full swing. The room fell silent as they entered. "Eleanor?" Her father stood up from the head table, his face a mixture of shock and confusion. "What are you doing here? Your mother said you couldn't afford—" "I know what Mother said," Eleanor interrupted, walking over to him. "Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you don't mind me crashing the party at my own hotel." "Your hotel?" Mr. Harrison from the bank suddenly stepped forward, his face breaking into a relieved smile. "Miss Eleanor, I had no idea you were Robert's daughter." "We've been desperately trying to schedule a meeting with you for months about that loan application." "Eleanor owns the Grand Azure?" Thomas Anderson joined in, looking between Eleanor and her father in disbelief. "My God! Robert, your daughter is the mysterious CEO who's been acquiring prime real estate across the entire city." Eleanor's father sank back into his chair, all color draining from his face. "All this time, when we thought you were just a glorified waitress?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Your words," I believe. From the day I left the family firm to pursue my dreams. But why didn't you tell us? Her mother demanded, still clutching her pearls. Would you have believed me? Eleanor asked quietly. You didn't believe in me 10 years ago when I actually needed your support. Why would I share my success with people who only measure someone's worth by their bank account balance? She paused. Though by that metric, I suppose I'm worth more than everyone in this room combined. Vanessa collapsed into a nearby chair, her face completely ashen. That villa in the south of France I tried to rent last summer. The one that was mysteriously unavailable. Mine, Eleanor confirmed. My property manager forwarded your reservation request, not realizing we were related. She glanced at Gavin. Just like the office building your firm is struggling to lease, and the resort membership you've been on the waiting list for, Mother. Eleanor, her father started, his voice unsteady. We, save it. Eleanor held up her hand. I didn't reveal all this to hurt you, though you've certainly hurt me plenty over the years. I did it because I'm tired of hiding my success to protect your pride. She turned to address the entire room. Please, everyone, enjoy the party. Everything tonight is on the house. My house.